In today's video, I'm gonna do a line illustration practice, and I'm gonna draw a capsicum, which is also known as bell pepper. So let's start with a sketch. So let's see, unlike the previous video, I do have a reference photo this time, so I'm gonna try copy what I see from the reference photo. But again, since I'm drawing and also try to speak at the same time, there might be some cases where I just pause because I try to think about the drawing and what I'm gonna do next. So I'm just outlining capsicum based on the reference photo. I always use this blue color when I do a sketch, which I think is better than just using a black line because it sort of separates out more distinctively than just using a black line. Sometimes I just, well, I guess most of the time I use black line for line illustrations. So if I use everything, if I use the black color for everything, then things might get confusing for me to figure out which is sketch and which is the actual final illustration lines. Well, I'm trying to sort of replicate the shape that I see in the photo for sure, but I'm not trying to copy like exactly the same. I guess that's part of the fun in drawing. You don't have to be exactly the same. It can be roughly the same. I think this might be a little bit wider than the photo, so I wonder if I can move some bits. Let's try this one. I just need to move some parts to the right a little bit so it's not as wide. It's probably there. Then I'm just gonna adjust the line here so that I see where I can put the final line for the illustration. It can go this way, and that will be this bit at the top. It will have a little bit of bumps, just a tiny bit. It's not going to be a lot. So I need to have the stem, so it will show a little bit of green bits at the top. Then it will have the stem coming out, and the direction is going to be to the right, so it's a little bumpy at the end. I'm just gonna do a simple line to start with. I might add a bit of more details when I actually lay down the black line upper contour lines. It might be a little thick, the stem. So what if I just try delete these here, and then let's fix that there. Let's change here. Just gonna make some of the parts obvious so that I know where to draw the black line. So the outline is gonna be black, and I'm gonna color it. This is gonna be red. It's red capsicum that I'm seeing from the reference photo. And then I'm gonna have really basic shading. It's not so much blended. It's not gonna be blended. It's just some darker parts and lighter parts. I think that's about it. And I want to keep the illustrations simple so that I don't have to think too much about the decisions that I need to make. This whole recording thing while I'm drawing is new for me, so I think it will take a bit of time for me to get used to this. The only way that I can get used to this is keep practicing, which I need to do a lot on my own time. I've been practicing on my own time for sure. Line illustration and also pixel art. The thing with line illustration is I do have some experience before, because my main job is in design, so graphic design. So it's mostly, the job itself is mostly about like working with layout types and typography and colors. It's not so much the illustration itself, but I do have some exposure to 2D illustration, mainly using Illustrator, so Adobe Illustrator. So it's mostly vector. Well, I can say it's like 99% vector illustration. It's like clean line, geometrical shapes, nothing hand drawn. So with that, when it comes to hand drawn line illustration, I'm a pretty newbie. I'm not that experienced in that. So that's the main reason I want to practice here, because I don't have any experience in that. So I guess one of the main challenges for me is to get used to having sort of hand-drawn lines that are not very straight, like a mechanical looking. Sometimes it could look quite wobbly and unstable. So I'll need to get used to it mentally, because it's just a habit that I developed from working in design. Everything has to be perfectly aligned and it's clean. So it's a little bit of shift in the perspective, I guess. So I guess that's the sketch. I wonder if I want to have a line down here. I'll just put down some guides, so I can potentially have a line that sits sort of in the mid area, but I don't think I want to actually connect all these lines all the way vertically. So a bit of like contour line will be good. So I'm just looking at the stem area. The stem area doesn't have to be, again, I can't really copy exactly, otherwise I would have just used the photo itself, because that's really just the exact realistic copy. So I'm gonna go with this sketch. So I'm just gonna change the name of the layer so that I know what it is. Then let's make a new layer that will be the actual black outline. I'm just going to change the name of the layer. So let's pick the black color. I'm going to change the type of the tool to pen. I think it's yeah, it must be this one, Millipen. But I don't want it to be that thick. Thing when I tested, it was either 6 pixel or 5 pixel that I liked. Now I'm gonna draw the actual black line, which will be the outline of the illustration. So I might just zoom in a bit. And let's start with the outer shape. So if I just try, go with something like that. Let's keep drawing the outer shape. Although it might be good to zoom out a little bit. The thing with it is it's a little hard to control the end bits where the lines meet. So I will take the sketches that I make in Procreate and then put it in Adobe Illustrator. Then finish that off as a vector illustration, so it's like perfect lines and geometric shapes. So I wouldn't have, I don't really have much of making hand-drawn illustration as a final sort of style. And that is the reason I'm doing this practice, because I wanted to hand-drawn, more natural and organic shape illustrations. Sometimes I might do illustrations in Illustrator, the vector illustration on this channel. I don't know. But for now, my focus is on this kind of hand-drawn illustration. So let's draw the line for this part here. And I think I'm having this habit of trying to create a line that is sort of smooth, although I shouldn't really be obsessed about having a smooth lines. Sometimes it's a little bit of sort of wobbles will be fine. Okay, so let's draw from there. And then I'm just gonna connect through the other bits. So I think this is gonna be a bit of a bit of a challenge to me to get used to having hand-drawn lines that are imperfect in a way, because I'm so used to drawing lines in Illustrator and things will always come out as clean as possible. Although you can actually apply some effects to make things feel like it's hand-drawn. I did try that actually in the past because I wanted to have that feeling, have that style, hand-drawn style, while I have the full control of the line shapes. So I control the lines even after I finish the base drawing. I can change it as I want and then it will retain the hand-drawn look. But I don't know why I didn't really, I don't know why I didn't keep doing that. Maybe I just didn't like the final result of how it looked. I think that might have been the main case. So I'm just gonna change a little bit of shape here, how it's connected to this end. So let's take the pen. It might be a little bit too out at the top. I want to go down much quicker, like so. Okay. And I think I can also change this bottom bits here, where these two lines meet. So let's erase this bit and then let me see. I'll extend out the middle part like so, and then connect that bit. I might want to change here a little bit. Oops. I might redraw this end. Okay, that's... yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I actually want to change this. Just the shape of it. So I'm gonna follow the sketch line. Like so. So it needs to be like that. Maybe a little bit more curve. Okay, that's not bad. After a few tries, I can go with that. So now I'm gonna do the outline for the stem part. I'll just start with the top. So it has a little bit of wobbles at the end. And then it can go like so. And then the other end, the other side, does have a little bit of wobble. It's very subtle. It's very tiny bit of wobble. Might try it again. Oops, not that sharp. Smooth line. It's like so. Let's go with that. And then there's a little bit of sharp edge that comes out like so. I might just make it a little bit sharper, like so. And then I want to zoom in and let's draw the left side. So again, I don't really have to be obsessed about getting exactly the same as the reference photo. And I guess that's part of the fun of doing illustration, especially 2D illustration, or even 3D sometimes, if it's a stylized illustration, not so much like realistic rendering. So we have a bit of dents there, which I'm gonna express here and here as well. I don't know, let's extend this down a little bit, and then I can add that dent there, and I'm gonna have a bit of crease there. This bit in the center, I want it to be like so. Okay, that's the line illustration, but I'll just change the line here. It has a little bit of wobble, which I don't like, but again, I need to get used to seeing this. But for now, at the moment, I just don't want it at that spot. Okay, that's the line, but I don't like how the bottom bits, this one here looks, it's a little too round. So I'll change that to be sort of in line with the sketch. So how about that? Yeah, let's do that. Then let's clean up this here. And then I just need to reconnect. Okay, so that's the line. Although I need to clean up this here. So I'm gonna take eraser and then let's do a bit of a cleaning. So I'm just gonna remove these lines. This line that intersects with the stem. Okay. Let me see. It's not too bad. There are some bits that I don't like too much. This bit here stands out a little bit. So I'm just gonna soften out a little bit. Just a tiny bit. Okay, it's not bad. So now I'm gonna do coloring. So for the base color, it's the reference photo that I'm looking at. It's red capsicum. So I might try, should I get the color from the photo, or should I just try with picking the colors myself? Obviously that's not the right color. It's way too red. It's too orangey. Maybe it needs to be desaturated. Too much, that was too much. A little bit lighter and desaturated. The thing is, I'm looking at the reference photo at a different screen, so the screens that I'm using to draw on and the screens that I'm using for the reference photo, they don't really have the same colors in terms of the color profile. So things might look a little different. Maybe I should try getting the color from the photo itself. Let's compare that. If I take the color and use it there, actually, it's a little too strong, I think. Maybe I'll just darken it a little bit. Yeah, okay. Let's try that. I think I like this as a base. I might need to fill out this bit here. What I feel like there's like some sort of yellow line going here. It's just optical illusion, but I've never experienced that in other software, like for example in Procreate. Anyway, let's color the stem now. So I'm gonna take the color, this fill tool, and do that. Certainly like there's some sort of weird optical illusion going on, because some lines look really thick around here, and these lines, they look really thin, although they're supposed to be of the same width. I'm just gonna continue and finish it and have a look at the end. So I'm gonna add some highlights to the main shape. The easiest part to start with would be the right side. So let's go something like that. And I'm gonna lay down like rough shapes first, and then I'm gonna refine it. So this bit's in the front. It could be like so. Yeah. And that's like that. although it might be a little bit too much. Also, given the fact that I'm not gonna do shading or blending, but I think we can go with that. So it's gonna be like so there. This bit on the left can go all the way down here, like so. This is actually a little bit of a unusual case where I have a lot of lighter colors. So now I'm gonna change the shape of these highlights, sort of refining it by erasing the bits that I don't need. Although I don't have to be exactly like the reference photo. I just need to have some highlights and shadows so that it gives a little bit of volume to the shape. So sometimes I'll just need to use my creativity. What if I try change the shape here so that it goes like so, a little bit squarish, boxy shape, and then I can refine the shape here, and then let's tighten up this bit at the top like so. Then I'm gonna erase these bits on the right side, although I do think the highlights might be too strong, but I'm gonna go and just lay down something and make a decision later. I think I want to reduce these bits here. This might be too much. It might just be the color itself. It might be too bright. But again, I'm gonna do something, just lay down something, then figure out, just adjust it later. And take the pen tool and then draw in some bits, but that's too big. Maybe I should have tried drawing in detail first instead of just blocking out the shape of the highlights. It's not too bad. Definitely, I think the highlights can be more subtle. So I can make it a little bit subtle, the highlights. But I think I want to have, let me see. So with this color here, what if I just desaturate it a little bit? Probably make it darker. Ooh. Okay, I don't like that, but just a little bit more saturation. So I think I will go with this for now. The previous color was too strong, I think. With this one here, I think I can smooth it out so that it follows the shape better. Highlights here a little bit. I think the highlights like in the center is just like way too strong, way too much to my liking. So I'm gonna reduce the area that is taking up. Let's also reduce the left side. About the top bits. Okay, now I'm gonna try adding some darker parts, shadowy parts. So let's have another layer. I wonder, this bit here. Oh, need to select the pen. Okay, let's try adding some darker shading. Let's start with this bit at the bottom. Doesn't have to end with the line, it can just be extended out, the shading itself. Okay, and then this on the other hand, on the right side, let's say like a little bit less, like so. And let's paint that in. Then I'm gonna have a few more dark areas at the top as well. So let's zoom in a little bit, and then let's add the shading, the darker shading where these lines meet. So you can go like so. Just a tiny bit here. Which might not make most sense in terms of the realism. But then again, the part of the fun in illustration is also using your imagination. So I'm gonna do that. I think I should have done that for the highlights, the lighter shade. Maybe I'll do that next time in my next practice. I can just set up a imaginary light source. Say just like what I did in my pixel art practice. Just set the light coming from the top, or top left, top right, for example, and then just apply the shading based on the imaginary light source. Okay. Again, I'm gonna add a bit of shading here as well, just because I want to see what it would look like. Okay, I'll go with that for now for the main shape, although I don't think it might be a little too simple. But then again, that's actually my intention as well. This line illustration isn't supposed to be like a representation of the real life. It is a representation, but what I'm trying to say is it's not going to be an exact copy of like real photo in terms of the aesthetics. It's more like stylized form of depicting an object. So for that, that's about it. I might just add a bit of shading here as well, just so that it has a little bit of color variation on that side as well. So now I'm gonna do shading for the stem, the green part. So let's create a new layer and clip that to the stem base color. And now there is definitely highlight. So let's do the highlight first. This might be too bright, but I'm gonna go with that. We can always change the color later. The thing is, I might scale it up a bit, and then let's go with finer, smaller pen size. Then I wanna do. I'm gonna draw in the highlights instead of blocking out the shapes or the areas that I want to have as highlight, which is what I've done for the red part. I think I'm just gonna draw in detail like so. And then this bit down here also has a bit of highlights. The top, it has thick highlights and they just phase out. And then I'm gonna add a few brighter areas at the top, sort of at the bottom. Like so. So probably this is where it's getting lights from the light source. On the right side as well. Although I think I'll just disconnect this here so that it's not so symmetric on the right and the left. Let's go back to drawing out the highlights. I think I go with something like that. It's kind of hard to tell where the highlights end and where the different color starts from a photo because it's all blended so well. With that, I think I'm gonna go adding darker shade, which could be quite saturated actually. It's quite green. So let's create a new layer and then clip that to the base color. That could be actually much greener and darker. A little bit more dark. Maybe desaturated a little bit. Okay. Then let's add some darker areas. Let's see, something like that. So this whole left side is dark, and I'm gonna have a bit of darkness in the center of the, it might be too up there, so let's delete that. But it could go something like so. Let's connect all the way down here to the black line. And then we can have a bit of dark parts on the right side as well. Maybe something like that. I think it might be a good idea to have a bit of highlights on the left side. So maybe let's erase out these bits just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit along the edge. Now I'm gonna use my imagination. So I'm just gonna draw in some parts with different colors so that it has a bit of color variation. It's not gonna be a lot, it's just subtle bits here and there. Although I do want to add another darker shade at the top here. So let's decrease the size of the brush so that I can have much finer control. And then it needs to be following the shape where it's like bent at the end. I do think now that the dark green is maybe too strong. You can try with opacity. How about like 80%? 70%? Yeah, let's go with that. So I guess it's getting towards the end. One more thing that I want to do is I always like adding sort of extra darkness with black color. So that could be, as an example, that could be, if I take the pen, that could be the bottom. So it could be, it's really hard to control where the brush starts and ends at that scale. So it's like adding a really deep shadow along the shape. I could also have it at the top. I think I might add it there just a little bit. And then let's add this here a little bit. Here, it could go like so. This line, I'm just gonna erase this bit a little bit. It's bugging me. I'm just continuing with adjusting these extra shadowy parts, extra strong shadows. And then I can also have some extra lines, especially on the stem. In the middle of the stem, it's a little too empty. So I'm gonna try as an experiment, try adding extra lines that will sort of hint the texture of the stem itself. So let's add a little bit there as well. Might be too much. I'll add one here. About here as well. Might just erase this one and make this one shorter. And have another one that goes like that. Just gonna add a bit of hint of texture. I think I'll erase this one. And let's make this one shorter. Okay, so that has been the practice for today, and this is the final result of a capsicum line illustration. So for the next one, I'm not sure if it's gonna be pixel art or line illustration. Probably I'm expecting it to be a line illustration practice because I just need to do a lot more practice on pixel art on my own time. So that is it for today, and thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.